Hello.
Hi.
Hello and welcome to the
Hi.
Hi. Hello and welcome.
Sorry.
This is like the third time we've had to start the recording because every time Melissa just does something disruptive.
This is revenge for you keeping me coughing or whatever at the beginning of the last video.
No, that's fair. That's fair. Anyway, this is the Patron Q&A for the Fooly Cooly video that I did. I'm sorry this took so long. I've been so busy and have continued to be so busy.
She's never not so busy, so just...
That's true. Well,
yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm just like busy in different ways lately.
And new and unimaginable ways.
Yeah, just as a little Hazel update, I would say, passively working on my next video, impassively working on a few other videos, and I think today is the day that I finish mastering my next release.
Woo!
It's a 5-song little EP. It might come as kind of a surprise, not so much for the content of it, and more so the kind of context of it, but you'll see when you see, if you even care.
Get hyped. It's good music.
Yeah, I put the Fooly Cooly video out, and then I flew to the other side of the country. So I haven't really thought about this video, like, since I uploaded it. Like, I kind of uploaded it and then immediately brain drained it.
Yeah.
So it's going to be funny answering these questions.
You're going to be like, what did I say in that video?
Right, exactly.
All right, our first question today is coming in from Male Tears. Thank you so much. I don't know what it is about the aesthetics and soundtrack of Fooly Cooly that fill me with bittersweet nostalgic memories of being an angsty teenager in the 2000s, but are there any other properties that have these same types of vibes?
Honestly, I would just recommend getting more into manga. There's a lot of manga that kind of captures that for me. I mean, I talked about it in the video. Like there just plainly aren't as many anime out there that fill that niche for me, like a lot of manga does. That's not to say that there aren't any anime, but just that is where I tend to find that stuff most. I can't remember if I specifically brought up like Minami Kyuta and artists like that in the video, or if I just kept it to Moyoko Anno and Kyoko Okazaki as far as like the josei artists that I think really capture that kind of thing. But those definitely tend to be just the fucking cream of the crop. It's that and like seinen made by women. I don't know what it is about those genres. I feel like I've brought them up plenty at this point, but they just always kind of have that quality in them that I'm looking for. I mean, maybe not always. There's some seinen made by women that, you know,
kind of sucks.
Kind of is the worst shit that anyone has ever made. I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about, Alyssa.
I'm actually not.
That's okay. We don't need to draw attention.
Are we talking about Deers again?
No. I think Deers, the fucked up thing is I think Deers is just a shonen.
It's a shonen.
Fucked up.
Like,
it's
crazy.
So fucked up.
Those little boys be reading horny shit. Anyway, Chris Holt says, what other anime from around the same period as the original Fooly Cooly, 2000, are your faves?
Nia Under 7 is either 2000 or 2001, and that's one of my favorites. It's obvious, but Kare Kano, which is from 97, which is, you know, kind of just before, but there's enough digipaint in that show that I think it counts. That is my favorite anime of all time. Gosh, I mean, I brought it up very briefly, but like Alien 9,
Alien 9?
I think really kind of captures the like, just the
kind of the weird off the wall wackiness.
Like you're being thrust
like,
into something with a system of logic that you can't really wrap your head around, and like the show goes from like, how serious are you supposed to take this? Like, it's kind of a fluctuating thing that I think kind of captures some of that.
Yeah.
That's just off the top of my head, though.
I don't remember when any anime came out, so I can't answer this question. Mox Bagel says, I feel like the media that hit me the hardest when I was young, including Fooly Cooly, hit hard because they were meditations on longing that I could not find the structure to express. I felt understood somehow, and it meant a lot to me because that was a new experience. Have you found a way to enjoy media that has this impact, even though adult longings are often all too clear?
I think that there are times when they are, and there are times when that's like such a meaningless statement. What am I even saying?
I mean, I feel like nostalgia is almost kind of like that. It's kind of
right.
like a structureless longing for something that is kind of ephemeral. Like
yeah.
And like maybe even logically, you know, it's not what it is in your memory.
Right.
I was thinking about this recently because I was thinking about amusement parks and like theme parks and how they never, even as a kid, quite gave me the emotion that I wanted them to make me feel.
Right.
But I love the idea of them.
Yeah.
And I have always wondered if like a theme park or something like it will ever actually make me feel the way that I wanted them to make me feel as a child, and that I perhaps like projected onto feeling about them but didn't actually feel, like a nostalgia for something I never experienced.
Right. Yeah. I think that kind of thing, I find that I get it about like stuff that I missed, you know, where I find something that theoretically could have been in my, like, on my radar when I was younger.
Yeah, I like both love and hate experiencing stuff where I'm like, this would have changed my personality if I experienced it as a kid. Or like, this would have been like my one thing for like years.
Yeah.
If I just, but like, I still enjoy it now too.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Like, especially with music, I'll have albums where I'm like, if I had hit this in high school, it would have shaped me in maybe even like a similar way to where I am now, but just like through very different means.
Yeah.
And that's interesting.
I'm saying this, but I can't think of any specific media that makes me feel that way.
Same. It's fine.
TK says, hey folks, hope you're well. So I know one half of my favorite power couple never really enjoyed Fooly Cooly. So Lisa, if you're here, way to support your wife. I mean, I loved her video, and honestly, it softened me a little bit on the things about Fooly Cooly that I know she likes.
That's the secret reason I made this video. No, that's not even true. I actually, that makes me a little sad because I love our kind of like...
I still don't really like Fooly Cooly.
What is it? Like right. Like our adversarial relationship, specifically where Fooly Cooly is concerned.
TK says, Hazel, you'd mentioned not really noting any digs at the fan community, but there is one line that always stood out to me. Might make sense as a dig. In reference to Naota's dad, Kamon, being kind of a weirdo. Quote, he wrote a book about Eva, which could fit.
So I was aware of that. Coffee brought that up to me, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, that doesn't fit. Like the implication that House made with that line was that it was like
I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. That it was something sort of like immediate and recursive. So I was looking for things that spoke more to just like facets of the show. And fans' reactions to that. So to me, it's like them making fun of people for writing Eva Dojinshi is like, you know, that's almost just as self-deprecating.
Yeah.
Which also goes for the one line that I identified.
TK also says, Hazel, is there any of your own music you would say was informed by the musical undertones and sensibilities of Fooly Cooly?
Probably all of it. I wouldn't say that very much has been like a really immediate inspiration. I've never gone into a song thinking like, I gotta capture this, you know, when it comes to Fooly Cooly. So I can't really say that. But I mean, this is kind of more just like broadly about the Pillows, but you know, like them and Number Girl doing the thing where they're two lead guitarists. I mean, so many bands have done this where the two lead guitarists' parts are hard pan left and right. I do that a lot these days. It's probably because of those bands, so that's probably as close as I can get.
TK also says, to Alyssa, I hope I spelled your name okay. Yeah, you spelled it right. I know you've talked about finding roots into the way of the weeb through Tenchi Muyo and Tokyo Mew Mew, but I was wondering if there was a show that had a perspective shifting effect in the same way Hazel describes Fooly Cooly. Maybe not these specifically, but I also feel like I need to mention that Hamtaro and Digicare are also pretty important gateway drugs for me, being a baby weeb.
Digicarrot being
Digicarrot is like, it's kind of like insane and difficult to understand in the same way as Fooly Cooly, but I would say Digicarrot is like objectively not very good. There's like no one piece of Digicarrot media where I'm like, yeah, just like, this is the one.
I disagree. The first batch of shorts is, I think, quintessential.
I mean, they're pretty easy to watch. Yeah, the original, they call it the Wonderful series.
Right.
It's just, it's off-puttingly confusing, and it's, I mean, I first saw it in a projector room at an anime convention full of adult men, and none of us kind of seemed to know what we were about to watch.
Right.
And I was confused by it, but I laughed and I liked it, and I
Yeah.
Kogedombo also had, like, pretty much, like, single-handedly one of the biggest influences on my art and in me trying to teach myself digital art, so I guess Digicarrot is probably my Fooly Cooly.
Yeah. That's better. That gives you more cred for sure.
I don't know about that. Oh yes, our next question comes from our favorite question asker, whose full name is It's a Me, Mario. In the year 2002, I saw a deer stand up on its hind legs and scream like a human, Mamma Mia. Who says, this isn't a question, but I always found it interesting how Fooly Cooly captures the same intangible quality that a Lynch movie does. The type of feeling where even if you don't understand what's happening in a concrete sense, you can still follow along on an emotional sense and feel what's going on. I also really relate to simply not wanting to watch the sequel series. I literally watched Fooly Cooly Classic for the first time last week. So it's not a sense of nostalgia or bias or disappointment feeling this. Fooly Cooly is Fooly Cooly, which means Fooly Cooly, and any more elaboration on it feels unnecessary, if that makes sense. It's like making a sequel to Akira. The type of thing that would probably only work / be interesting in a different medium. Also, as I was writing this, I dropped my headphones in the toilet.
I read this. I put this one in here specifically for those final, 8 words?
This is my favorite question asker. I feel like I don't need to add anything to this.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a perfect message.
Yeah.
It's ontologically perfect.
It is ontologically perfect.
Maverick says, shout out middle school me for managing to get through Fooly Cooly Gumbuster, Gurren Lagann, and Scott Pilgrim books and the movie in the summer of 2010. No clue how much of it came up while you were going through old posts about the show, but did anyone ever try and make a connection to the title and Funiculi Funicula? It doesn't matter ultimately, but I was listening to Haruomi Hosono's cover a week ago, and the similarity kind of hit me. Have a good one.
They reference it directly in the show.
Oh.
Yeah. Really briefly. I don't even think it's within the context of the Hosono cover, but that was also what my mind went to immediately.
Interesting. Is it a song?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think Scott Pilgrim, was 2010 for me. Books, and then I think I hit the movie right after I finished the final volume, which I think came out a little bit after, because I saw Scott Pilgrim via DVD. I remember I got really sick and I watched it while I was really sick, and that's still the only time I ever watched it.
I enjoyed it when I saw it. I saw it kind of later.
Yeah.
I tried really hard to read the Scott Pilgrim books, but the way his art is really dense and the characters are all really simple made it really hard for me to tell who was who or what was going on.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah, I found his comicking very difficult to follow.
That's interesting. I don't remember having that issue.
Maybe that was a skill issue, but I remember reading it being I really can't tell what's going on.
I'm so fucking curious to go back to Scott Pilgrim. I feel like I really need to just do it and make a video about it.
You should read Mega Tokyo at the same time and then pit them against each other.
I should. You're right. Nobody's gonna like what I wind up favoring, though, so maybe I shouldn't.
The answer may shock you. Codfish Cartographer says, did you guys go to SakuraCon up in Seattle earlier this month? If so, did you attend any panels or do anything noteworthy there? If not, have any good con stories from the past?
No, we didn't. I was looking at the panels and shit, and none of them sounded very appealing to me. Maybe I was just looking at the ones that were for whatever day. I think I looked right before this Sunday. So I might have just been looking at the events for that day, and I was just like, none of this is appealing to me. So no, I haven't.
I haven't attended SakuraCon, but
yeah.
I walked around the premises to cosplayer watch. I looked at cosplayers. It was fun. I didn't actually go into the convention.
Good con stories? Oh gosh.
Good con stories. I know I've told bad con stories, which makes it sound like I have an antagonistic relationship towards anime cons when I actually really like them.
I feel like I just started going to them too late.
Yeah.
I was an anime fan from such a young age, but I never really was able to go to any cons until I was 16 or 17, and even by that point it was right when they were getting too commercial, you know.
So sad. Yeah.
This is a funny comparison, but I was recently watching an old Red Letter Media video, and it was right at the start of Half in the Bag, where they do videos where they're reporting from cons, because they were big at the time, but they're not as big as they are now. So they were kind of able to do that without it being this whole big elaborate
deal.
thing,
Yeah.
big deal, yeah. And one of them that they go to is just this tiny fucking puny anime con, and they're not anime guys.
Yeah.
And it's right when Hetalia was at its peak, so you can see a bunch of fucking Hetalia cosplayers in the background. And all I could think was the lighting was really shitty and dim, and you could tell that it was just a little bit too warm in there.
Yeah.
And it was carpeted, which I feel con spaces never
Whoa,
are anymore.
carpeted?
I know, I might be wrong on that.
Oh, man.
But all I could think the entire time was, oh god, I want to go back. Not even to that specific time, but
No.
I just want there to be conventions that can be kind of rickety, you know?
Yeah.
And that are just clearly being born out of a base level passion that rises way far above ambition, or where the ambition rises against what they could possibly match.
Yeah. I mean, I've gone on this tired before, and I'll spare you guys because I could seriously go on about this for an hour, but hobbyism and fandom is treated almost like a job now, and that's really sucked any kind of pleasure I take from it and from enjoying other people enjoying it.
Yeah.
Which is sad. You know, I miss the shitty shrinky dinks and the handmade home printed prints and the Americans don't ever do fucking Dojinshi. It pisses me off because I love Dojinshi.
I think it's just too much work.
I know.
For to make and for people to read. They want prints to hang up on their wall. They're not looking for things that they can read all the way through.
Yeah. As a kid, I was kind of enamored with Dojinshi, and okay, here's a good con story. I desperately wanted to own a Dojinshi. I just thought the whole idea of self-publishing a fan comic based on
Where
something.
did you first learn about Dojinshi?
So through Rose and Maiden, because I was I was never a 4chan user, but I would kind of poke at 4chan here and there when I needed or wanted something. By which I mean I would gaze into the abyss and see what the abyss would spit back out at me. I never posted or anything. And Rose Maiden had a stranglehold over 4chaners, as evidenced by Suisei Seiki being almost kind of their unofficial mascot girl for quite a while. And
which is something that is so lost to time. Like, if you were to ever bring up, like, oh yeah, like the, like, 4chan, like, mascot character, nobody would ever go to... Sweet. Yeah, they'd say either Yotsuba or, like, fucking, like, what's her name? Vivian James, the fucking Gamergate mascot.
Oh, God.
Just, like, some fucking cringe bullshit
I don't
like
even
that.
know what that is. So there was, like, one kind of channery fan site that just, like, had enormous archives of Frozen Maiden Dojinshi. And I don't know if I knew what Dojinshi was before this, actually, but this was my first time, like, easily having access to reading and downloading it. And a bunch of it was fan translated, but not all of it. And there were 2 categories. One was safe for work, and one was not safe for work. And
right.
I had, through osmosis, understood that dojin circles were a thing. That being, like, circles of people for, like, a particular fandom or pairing. And dojin circles often had, like, a name. So I thought that safe for work was the name of a dojin circle, and all the dojinshi in that category was put out by the dojin circle.
Right.
Safe for work. And then the not safe for work
Safe
category,
for work really does sound like the name of a dojin group.
Yeah. And then in my mind, not safe for work was like, oh, these must be from other dojin circles. So it's
right.
everything not put out by safe for work. It sounds like I'm making this up. This is genuinely what I thought.
No, I completely believe it.
Just because they were listed in this order, I went through all of the safe for work dojinshi first. I was like, this is so cool. I can't believe I get to look at all this Frozen Maiden dojinshi for free. This is great. Time to check out the other category now. And I think I downloaded them in bulk. And then, like, I started opening them and being like, oh, I think all of these are inappropriate. And then I was like, I think I know what not safe for work means now. Anyway, going back to conventions, though, I desperately wanted to buy a physical dojinshi
right.
for just something, anything I recognized. And now at this point, I was cognizant of the fact that there was a lot of porn dojinshi in the world, and I had to be careful. And then back in those days, I don't think they do this anymore. I've, like, looked for it. I don't see it. They used to just fucking show up with crates of, like, dojinshi overstock.
Right.
And just, like,
I don't think that's a thing anymore.
In giant, like, cardboard boxes. You just have to, like, kind of leaf through them and get lucky. It doesn't help that anime conventions have kind of cracked down on regulations surrounding selling adult content, which fucking sucks, but whatever. Anyway, so I I kind of just, like, wandered into a booth, not realizing it was, like, full of, like, adult yaoi dojin, and I was like, oh wow, dojinshi crates. Started sifting through.
You literally had the fucking that scene of fucking Kagami.
Yes, literally. I started sifting through. I was like, oh no, it's all porn. And then, like, the lady at the booth kind of, like, looked at me and she's like, I don't think you're old enough to be looking at these. Sorry. And I was like, oh, sorry. And then I left and I was like, damn.
I would have been mortified about that for the rest of my life. If that had happened to me verbatim, I would have been too embarrassed to tell that story here because the shame still would have been with me.
I wasn't embarrassed. I was just excited to, like, make physical contact with real life dojinshi,
even if it
wasn't the kind I wanted. Yeah, so that's my con story. Hope you liked it. Afro the Kobold says, apologies if this is worded weird. Have you ever had a piece of media that you could barely remember but swear was a thing, but no one else seems to remember or know what it was? I had this with a couple of SNES games I rented as a kid and later confirmed was a thing thanks to emulation.
Yeah, it was all emulation, or it was all rental games for me as a kid, where I was like, what the fuck was that? And then, like, I'd just be watching some random video and I'd be like, oh, I rented the 2D platformer Goemon for the N64. Or like, oh, I rented Quest 64. And, like, that's what that is. So I think it was mostly that for me.
This doesn't fulfill your criteria because I remembered and continue to remember this, but just on the subject of weird rentals, I never owned anything that wasn't a Nintendo system growing up, so I went over to my friend's house and they had, I don't remember if it's a PlayStation 1 or PlayStation 2 game, they had Bomberman Fantasy Racing.
That's PS1.
PS1. And I was fucking obsessed with the weird little racing dinosaur creatures in it.
Yeah,
and
the game rocks.
I assumed, because that was my first time ever coming in contact with Bomberman, that those characters must have been a staple of the series.
Right.
The little dinosaur creatures.
Yeah.
So next time I went to a rental store, I really wanted to rent a Bomberman game. So I rented Bomberman 64. And I was like, wow, this fucking sucks. There are no creatures, there's no racing.
And it doesn't have the Bomberman Hero OST either. You just got, like, a bum deal on all fronts.
Yeah, and I just remembered not finding the gameplay fun at all.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Sorry to anyone who loves Bomberman 64. Nick Ostrom says, Adult Swim played Fooly Cooly to bring in the new year this year, and I couldn't help sitting down and watching the whole
I had no
thing.
idea that was the case, because I also
crazy.
watched it on New Year's.
Oh, really?
Completely on a whim, but I just, like, torrented it.
It's so gorgeous and such a fun watch, and definitely feels meaningful to me in generally. Question, I loved your friend's observation that Fooly Cooly feels like it's composed like music, and that line instantly resonated with me because it's similar to how I've always described one of my own favorite movies, Spring Breakers. Corinne? I almost said Corine, has made similar statements about it, and especially the way particular phrases repeat, like in pop music, and the way the soundtrack and score weave in and out of the dialogue and out of each other, culminating in an orchestral rendition of scary monsters and nice sprites. What?
Yeah, that movie is unhinged.
I kind of want to see it now.
I don't know if you do.
Are there other works that have hit you in this way, or did your friend have any other reference points when they said that?
No, I don't think they did. At least, like, I'm sure that there's other stuff that they would describe similarly. Other works that have hit me in this way, I don't really think so. Music is, like, such, like, an exceptional, like you know, like, in that it is, like, one big exception for me, like, medium, that it's kind of hard for me to point to anything that hits me on that similar level. I know this is probably kind of a cop-out, but, like, if anything, I would say more music videos feel like they are really good at capturing the spirit of music, where things are inherently very implicit and are saying things bigger than they could possibly fit into their scope. So it's, like, very, like, imagery based. So I think you get a lot more, like, multiplicity of meaning from them. But then obviously they're also attached to music, so that feels so obvious.
Yeah.
At the same time.
I love a good music video that feels like a perfect visualization of the sound of the music.
Yeah, definitely.
John Willen says, thank you for another great video. It inspired me to go back and watch it. Congrats on not watching the Cash Grab sequels. What is your opinion on years later Cash Grab anime sequels in terms of art? Are there any particularly galling to you?
I feel like it wouldn't really be fair for me to assess any of them because I don't think I've seen any of them.
Yeah, I simply do not watch them.
Like, I haven't seen any Sakura Clear Card. I haven't seen Sailor Moon Crystal.
Oh, I actually have seen both of those.
Right, yeah.
Sailor Moon Crystal is interesting because obviously everyone shat on it profusely when it came out, and unfortunately kind of rightfully so. I mean, everyone has said this, but what really shocked me was, like, this is motherfucking Sailor Moon. Like, you guys couldn't spend more money on this production? Like,
right.
It boggles the mind. Like, I want to know, like, the insider baseball of what happens.
That it is more of a scheduling issue than it is a budgetary issue.
But they did it as, like, an anniversary thing, too, so they had all this time to, like, plan it and get it ready and make it, like, a spectacle.
It's just possible that they didn't have the idea to do it soon enough.
I guess. I don't know. It was weird. But Sailor Moon Crystal's first season is probably better paced than the first season of the original show, which I might catch some heat for. But I mean, a lot of the bosses are just kind of cyclical and circular in the original show, and I think Crystal did a good job kind of truncating that. I watched Clear Card. I honestly remember very little about it. Nothing can beat the original Cardcaptor Sakura in terms of just, like, production beauty to me. It's just such a gorgeous-looking and sounding show.
Yeah, it's kind of insane. It's just, like, operating at, like, maximum capacity at all times.
Clear Card doesn't look bad. It's well produced in terms of modern anime, I suppose, at least from what I remember.
Yeah, it's just, like, very much so, in my mind, looks like modern anime.
Yeah.
Where it's just, like...
It's just kind of smoothed out.
Yeah, it's, like, very, like, pastel-y, and all the lines are, like, super thin and, like, super, like light gray or, like, light brown.
I mean, I think, if anything, the thing that I dislike the most about Clear Card is that the dynamic between Sakura and Shaoran is so watery.
Right.
Like, I get that they're together at that point, so it's like, oh, he's like a cute, shy, good boyfriend now, but, like, he's really been declawed of anything that made him, like, kind of spunky and cute. Yeah. And that bored me. I didn't like that.
Yeah.
That was sad. And also, my girl Mei Ling had to get kind of fucking Thanos snapped because she's not supposed to exist.
Yeah, it's so sad.
They, like, have one moment where Sakura calls her on the phone, and that was, like, actually my favorite moment in Clear Card, because I was like, what? It's her! That's all I remember, though.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, even Digicarry just had, like, a weird random revival series that was so uncared about that I don't even think anyone finished subbing it.
There was one really good episode once.
There was one really good episode, and the rest just kind of had me scratching my head, which, like, to be fair, is pretty in the spirit of Digicarry.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of like, what was the angle here?
Yeah.
I don't know. I have nothing against, like, years later sequels, but it's hard for them to live up to the legend of whatever it is they're a sequel for.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the recent Urusei Yatsura, even though it was a reboot, I feel like could even kind of fall into that.
Yeah, I guess so. And that's another example where it's
fine.
like, it was fun to watch, but, like, nothing in it had me going, like, oh my god.
Yeah, like, we really needed this. Nalmo says, what do you do with leftover stale bread? I like making French toast. Any favorite recipes? Our bread doesn't go stale. We eat it too fast.
We also just keep our bread in the fridge where it doesn't really have time to go bad.
Yeah. We eat a lot of bread.
Yeah, but in general, when that does happen, usually my go-to is either croutons or bread pudding. Yeah.
Penny Vath says, it's clear in this video how foundational Fooly Cooly is to you through how much this, intentionally or not, I think the video title is what made me go and noticing it, references so many of your other videos. That being said, I have to ask.
I don't even think I realized that.
Yeah, I don't think I did either. When you were looking into the popularity of Fooly Cooly in Japan, why did you not end up using the Hazel Elfenly Dojin popularity
Because
scale?
Dojinshi.org isn't around anymore. It's gone.
Rip to a real one. That's so sad.
I also think that, in general, I'm trying to be more concrete about these things, which is why me bringing up the merch was mostly, like, an anecdotal thing on top of it.
Yeah.
And while I'm at it, just to clarify, because I think there was a little bit of confusion about it, my impulse wasn't to go to Knee Channel to find posts about Fooly Cooly because I thought that they were going to be representative of the general opinion of it, because obviously not. I just also knew that if there was going to be anywhere online that people were congregating to be angry about it to the degree that Michael House brought up, it was going to be on
Nichan.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, that was why I did that. I think some people conflated it and thought I was saying that, like, that was me proving that it was less popular or hated or something, and that obviously wasn't the case.
Yeah. Papa Phoenix says, hi, Fooly Cooly means so much to me, and so does Chainsaw Man, so I'm really happy you brought that up in passing. I think the things they share in common is cool, which is kind of related to my question. What's your favorite pairings of media? Would love to hear both of y'all's answers. It doesn't have to have very strong parallels to each other. It could be really surface level aesthetically and maybe even extremely tangentially. I like thinking about it a lot because, of course, art is contextual. Some examples for me are Chainsaw Man and Fooly Cooly. I think about the connections that Gunbuster, Ava, and Gurren Lagann share. Super love your stuff. Hope you and Alyssa are doing well. I'm kind of confused by what this question means.
I mean, it's just like, which two pieces of media do you think are, like, heightened by each other? You know?
Oh, pairings of media.
Yeah. Like, I've brought this up to friends in passing, or I think, like, on streams or something, like, oh, yeah, these two OVAs would make a really good double feature. I can't think of any off the top of my head, of course, but I know that there were some where I was like, yeah, these two things are like, kind of similar and kind of not. Like, I think it's called My Steady is a Witch. It's this, like, really sloppy little OVA that I think I described as, like, which Ursa movie? I think the fourth movie is, like, Sloppy Little Brother is how I described it once. So it's like you could pair those two together, you know, if you wanted to really just kind of stew in the, like, weird, like 1980s, like, Lacanian desire for anime girls.
My sibling
media.
just watched I can't remember which one, like, I think the second Madoka movie, and they said this is like Beautiful Dreamer for evil toxic lesbians.
God damn it, I can't
I'm
hear that.
Damn, you're making me kind of want to give Madoka another try.
I don't want to, though, is the thing.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna give it another try. I'm gonna try to unlearn my haterism. This is not, again, I'm not, like, answering anyone's questions. I'm just like, haha, that reminds me of this other thing.
That's fine.
I recently watched The Big Lebowski for the first time.
Oh, right.
And I know that Fujimoto loves that movie, and I think he said that, like the main character of the dude is, like, one of his main inspirations for power, which is fucking psychotic, but
that
makes
so much sense.
Anyway, not only is it a fucking great movie, but watching it the entire time, I was like, not only do I completely see, like, why Fujimoto likes and was inspired by this movie, but, like, yeah, I can, like, see the fingerprint of it in his like, sensibility.
Yeah.
So I felt like that was a good thing to watch as a fucking Chainsaw Man fan. No, I mean, it was just a good movie in general. Yeah. It was really funny.
I haven't seen it since I was, like, 15.
Yeah, I was
should really
missed out on it.
I had to sleep.
Yeah, you had to go to bed. I would be down to watch it again with you.
Yeah, we should.
It was very easy to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I've loved every Coen Brothers movie I've seen.
Yeah, it was my first Coen Brothers movie.
Wow, yeah.
I love movies that, like, kind of have almost a cartoonishness, and I fucking love the premise of movies where it's like there's not necessarily a big plot, you just have really eccentric, funny to watch characters, and you just like seeing how they react to things and what they do next.
You and I need to watch Fargo as well. That's another Coen Brothers movie that's very much like that.
See, I was saying, like, this reminds me kind of like the charm of Napoleon Dynamite.
Right,
like, nothing really happens per se in that movie. There's no central conflict. These are just eccentric people who you like seeing do whatever it is they're doing.
Like, that's the kind of movie that would get made into, like, a one-series Netflix show, or one-season Netflix show now. Yeah. You know? Like the paradigm for that kind of movie has, like, shifted.
Yeah.
To just, like, a different form of media now.
Yeah. Which is a shame, because I really like it in a movie format. I think a movie is the perfect length for that kind of, like, goofing about, faffing around. Swaggiest for Men says, hey y'all, unrelated question, so feel free to skip, but just reread Azumanga Daioh and loved it as much as I remembered. I feel like you may have talked about it before, but who's your favorite character in the series? Also watched Fooly Cooly after seeing this video on my notice and loved it.
I mean, it's so obvious. I really like Yukari and Yamo, and I really like Tomo and Yomi. I think those two are, like, my favorite duos.
My opinion changes every time someone asks me this question.
Yeah. I feel like right now I'm gonna say Yomi for some reason, because she doesn't get enough love.
I like Kaorin.
She's good too, yeah.
And I like... Jeez, I think Kaorin might be one of the, like, earliest lesbians I saw in media.
Yeah.
Because I read Azumanga Daioh pretty young. I had the omnibus at a young age.
Yeah.
I mean, I like Nyamo quite a lot.
Me too. No, I'm changing my answer. I gotta stick with Yukari.
Yeah, Yukari's very you.
She's the eternal
She's
favorite.
very you.
That's true.
She's like, what if Misato hadn't gone through all that shit that she went through?
And was just a fuck up anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm actually shook by how good of a description it is.
Or it's it's almost like Misato wouldn't have to rise to the occasion if she hadn't been through all the fucked up shit that she went through.
Yeah.
So Yukari is just like the burnout for no reason.
Yeah. Pomlantine says, I'm so happy you mentioned Mike and Melissa. I have a whole essay for my school's news site on it.
Fuck yeah.
What were some of your thoughts on it that you omitted from the final video? I could go on for hours. I swear I'm not weird.
I was stretching the truth a little bit when I said that I was going to talk about it, because the context it was in was that I was going to jokingly say, like, just kind of ruminating on the kind of like high art versus low art kind of qualities that Fooly Cooly's got in it, that was like a whole thesis, like 3 iterations of that video ago. That like you know, while everyone was or how do I say it, like, while everyone was working on Fooly Cooly, Ano was making his Mike and Melissa, which was like I was talking about Shikijitsu, which is the one thing of Ano's that I like decidedly don't like, because it's just like Garden State but like more pretentious. I'm not a fan of that movie. But yeah, I was like, I can't remember the exact context, but it was like I was drawing a parallel to it being this, like, basically saying that, like, Ano has never shown more of his penis than he did in that movie, and I don't want to see more of it. Where it was just, like, he's just, like, so clearly, like, speaking directly from his id in a way that is just, like, not working for me. Mm-hmm. But that's, like, kind of an unfavorable, like, it wasn't really a coherent comparison, because I genuinely love Mike and Melissa. I genuinely think it rocks in a way that I don't for that movie. So it was kind of like a weird comparison. It was like half a thought, but like I had like a bunch of notes about Mike and Melissa scrawled in a corner of the document as a just in case. Yeah, I can't remember if I mentioned it, but my notes for that script were like 3 times the size of the final script, just because I was so unsure of how I wanted to tackle it.
Yeah, you almost scrapped that video like twice.
Yeah, it sucked. I hated working on the scripting phase until I finally just like got into a rhythm with it.
Mm-hmm. PP Fart 420.
Read that one again.
PP Fart 420 says, hello! I've been hugely inspired by your music for a while, and it has pushed me to make my own. Do you have any resources you remember using when you first started making music, especially pertaining to Vocaloid?
Honestly, I have used very, very little in the way of tutorials in my time as a musician, because I'm really bad at following instructions. So most of the time I just go to friends of mine who know more than me and say, hey, how do multiband compressors work? I know that it's going to feel really uncomfortable or overwhelming, but I think that the stage that you're at right now in many ways is kind of like the most exciting stage for a burgeoning artist to be in, where like you're just kind of feeling around, and like a lot of magic can happen when you're in that stage. Mm-hmm. So I would say just kind of lean into those things, kind of lean into happy accidents that crop up in the process. And my advice pertaining to Vocaloid is don't use it. Use SynthV. It's free. Mostly, and it is amazing. I use the free version for everything, and it sounds a billion times better than Vocaloid ever did when I was using it. So that's my advice there.
I paid for SynthV so I could have Teto, and she's fucking great.
Yeah, she's fucking great.
Her.
She sounds so good.
She's so cute. Comrade Scallion says, unrelated, but I remember seeing something about milk inside a bag of milk and or milk outside of a bag of milk in one of your other videos. And as a milkhead myself, I would just like to hear your thoughts on it.
I haven't played the sequel, but I played the original when I was working on the Lane video because I figured, oh, this has to be inspired by it, at least in part. And I liked it. I don't really have anything more to say. I'm sorry. I had a good time. I was like, yeah, cool.
Yeah, cool. Jill Katsu says, because I was a little bummed you mentioned that you had to cut talking about them for time, here's an excuse for you to talk about Judy and Mary. Curious how they would have tied into that earlier version of the script, and if you have any kind of personal connection to their music, or if they just happened to come up during some research in a way that connected them to the topic. For me, Jam was one of Baby's first Japanese bands. I heard Sobakasu sometime around the year 2001, and a Dragon Ball Z AMV of all things, and I voraciously consumed as much of their music as I could get my hands on. I feel like they never made much of a splash in the English-speaking internet, outside of Sobakasu itself, so hearing them mentioned at all made me happy.
They're one of my favorite bands. I got into them really late, all things considered, because I didn't watch Rurouni Kenshin, which I'm pretty sure is like Sobakasu. It was one of the openings. So I totally missed them there. And I found them through an interview with Midori where they were talking about how they got to work with the lead guitar player from that band on one of their songs. And Mariko Goto was talking about how Judy and Mary was one of her favorite bands. And, the interview did that thing where it was wow, can you believe that this noise band is really inspired by a pop band? And it's yeah, of course. I can understand that. So yeah, I used that to check out Judy and Mary, and I was fucking blown away. Immaculately constructed songs. It's crazy. Overdrive is in one of the Japanese Donkey Kongas, as a little fun fact for you. But yeah, the way that it was going to fit into the video was, I was reading some Japanese language YouTube comments on, Brand New Wave Upper Sound, I think is the name of that song. I always get it confused, because it's a bunch of words. But I was watching a live video of it, and there were a couple of different comments that were talking about how the band had this kind of, I think the word that they were using, a few different comments I saw translated as it's this sort of piercing quality that the band had. And I think one of the comments even was this is the kind of sound that a band can only achieve when they're falling apart. And it's there's this sort of propulsion of the band's own collapse that is kind of moving them forward to create their greatest masterpiece. And if I'm not mistaken, yeah, somewhere in Fooly Cooly Noise, I think Tsuramaki specifically uses that same word when talking about it, Fooly Cooly, as a kind of not quite countercultural anime per se, but as something that was kind of unlike other stuff that was coming out at the time. I thought that the usage of that word in both contexts was very apt, because it's I had this whole thing in mind where I was Fooly Cooly kind of represents the end of Gainax as we knew it to a certain point, but also kind of the beginning of what it would go on to be. Just in terms of the names that would start to have a bigger and bigger focus in the credits. But I didn't really want to argue that point, because Gainax's history is so fucking annoying, and under any scrutiny, none of those comparisons that are fun to think about actually meaningfully add up when you have all the timelines on paper. So I was I don't want to bother arguing something that isn't even necessarily fully true, even though I think it's interesting. So I just cut the whole thing.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Where am I? Who am I? Destructo says, this question's very important. Blue Canty or red?
Blue.
This is hard because I tend to really like red robots because I like the look of red metal.
Yeah.
But I feel like blue Canty is just canon in my mind.
Yeah, it feels a lot more iconic to me.
So it feels kind of fucked up to see red Canty.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll say blue. ER says, I've really enjoyed the video. I think it touched on a few things I hadn't considered or analyzed before. I hadn't seen Fooly Cooly in about a decade. I vaguely recall the manga adaptation being different enough that it is noteworthy, so I hope you read it soon. It was especially great to hear about the details and references you picked out from Fooly Cooly. My only nitpick is you lean quite heavily on the millisecond freeze frame notes. Understand they're not essential to the essay, but it's frustrating to pause and rewind and scrub to try to read them all for those of us who are interested in the additional details or clarifications.
The way that I look at it is, it is a difficult trade-off between... I don't like overqualifying things in my video scripts. A lot of times it is unfortunately necessary because this is just a platform where inherently reading things in the worst faith possible is like the name of the game as a viewer there. So I put those in there basically to preempt anyone who is going to be annoyingly pedantic about the way that I phrase certain things, so that I have that extra bit of clarification that is purely there to save people the energy of writing an annoying comment that I'm not even going to see anyway. So there were a lot of them in that one, strictly because the video would have had to have doubled in length if I had written it in such a way that didn't necessitate them in spots.
Narrating
and to
all
me,
of them can torpedo the pacing
exactly,
too.
Exactly. And to me, the idea of not having them entirely makes the video run the risk of being even more misinterpreted than any video that gets made already does. So there are a lot of trade-offs that go into my decisions when it comes to those things.
The notes are there for the lore hunters.
Exactly. Yeah. If it is actively frustrating for you, just don't worry about it. Most of it is like not worth it anyway. If I thought that any of those freeze frames were truly worth it, I would have either drawn more attention to them or I would have just narrated them. So
Yup. Peter Chicolo, maybe? Cicolo? Chicolo?
it comes out different every single time, and I don't think we've ever gotten a straight answer.
I'm sure that even if Peter told us, I would have forgotten by now.
Yeah.
You get a fun new pronunciation every week, by which I mean every 3 months or whatever. Says, Tsurumaki's observation about effortless communication at 3331 really struck me because I've long thought that this was at the root of a bunch of popular archetypes. Bully girls and maids, but also little sisters, childhood friends, marriages arranged or accidentally entered into, etc. It was surprising to see it laid out so clearly so long ago, but it shouldn't have been. Do you get the sense that most people who are drawn to these stories are self-aware about this desire?
Definitely not. I think that otaku self-awareness is like, I have identified the trope in this, but not really thinking much more beyond that. Like, I think a lot of otaku analysis is extremely shallow, and it's just kind of like a mode of like having more fun with these things than it is actually seriously engaging with them as ideas, which is fine. You know, this is all escapism for them to begin with, whatever. But no, I think that otaku are painfully unself-aware in all of the realms where it actually matters.
Shane Preeb says, I audibly gasped at the Kyuko-chan shout-out in the middle of the video. One of the first physical manga I ever received as payment for cleaning up a comic book store when I was in high school. Wow. Would love to hear your thoughts on it. The art style was incredibly striking to me and was very formative to my taste now.
I haven't read it! I just like the art, and I like skimming through those books every now and again and going, wow, the art is so pretty, and then not actually reading it because I want to save it for a rainy day.
Yeah, I think I did that too when I saw it on the shelves. I would like skim it, be like, oh, this is cool looking,
yeah.
But I never actually read it. Serenity Venus says, hello, Alyssa and Hazel. I don't know why I rearranged this so that my name was first. I got excited that they addressed me, and then I rushed ahead.
I don't mind.
Hello, Hazel and Alyssa is what they actually wrote. I think it was over a year ago when I first asked this question, but did you ever get around to watching the rest of Owl House?
No.
I did not. I forgot. I haven't even watched the Sonic cartoon yet.
Yeah, I'm not really interested in either right now. I think at some point I might be, but I've not once thought, like, man, I could really go for that right now.
I just haven't really been watching television.
Yeah, same, exactly.
Yeah, sorry. I'll let you know if I get back to it. Platon Pizza 3000 says, hi, this video is one of your greatest. I love how you managed to pack so much stuff in only 45 minutes with it still being really digestible. Are you familiar with the art of Atlas's Kazuma Kaneko? When I was getting into Persona and discovered his stuff, it felt cold and creepy in a very unappealing way, but he has now become my favorite character designer, period. And I talk about him to a point of obsession. In the video you were mentioning that the works that really stick with you are the ones that hit your heart before your brain, but have you ever had a piece of media / someone's work that had a repulsive effect at first and then grew on you over time like the above?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think that's like how a lot of people get into like heavier music when they're younger, is being like, this is like wrong, but it's kind of still speaking to me anyway. Yeah. Or even just like DIY music that's really rough around the edges. Like there's kind of a compelling quality, like almost like there's something kind of abject about it that draws people in. And you know, that's certainly how I got into horror as well. Like, it's so literal, but like I was like so like petrified by a lot of that stuff, but I couldn't fucking look away, and I had to just like understand it to kind of take that power away from it to a degree. So definitely. Also, yeah, of course I know Kaneko's art. It's really good. There was a post that went around recently where somebody was like, why does this like stock photo of a vacuum look so much like a Kazuma Kaneko render? And it was making me laugh. Let me see if I can find it for you, Alyssa.
Why do I see it?
Yeah, if you literally just search Kazuma Kaneko vacuum, it's the first thing that comes up.
It perfectly looks like his rendering style.
That's so fucking funny.
I totally get it. That's really funny. Sed says, your video on Tenchi Muyo got me to purchase an animation cell from Golden Boy and Slayer's Try. Ironically, when I purchased this, I also went looking for Fooly Cooly animation cells, but found nothing.
Fooly Cooly was animated digitally. There are no cells.
Is there any given scene from Fooly Cooly you would own a cell from if you could?
Although I guess the like Genga and Doga were probably
you could probably
traditionally
get Genga.
Still,
yeah.
But I don't know if they've ever been like released to the public.
They probably burned it all when
Gainax is so fucking bad about their fucking like just like their shit in general. They were just fucking doing shit to do it. Any given scene, I mean, it's so, you know, any one that I could say is going to be, like, too obvious to mention, you know?
I want one of Conti.
Yeah.
I like Conti.
Is he your favorite?
Yeah. He doesn't say nothing, so he doesn't annoy me. Just kidding. Just painting more targets on my forehead. Quinn W says, hey, I hope things are well. Also, I'm sorry, I know this has already been rehashed, but I was wondering, with you phrasing some of your older videos... Phasing, sorry. Some of your older videos out, if there's anywhere to watch them, or if they're archived anywhere. I understand your body of work is... I hope your body of work is your own to craft and do with what you will, but
understand that your body of work is your own to craft.
I'm sorry, I can't read.
It's okay.
Do with it what you will, but a lot of those unavailable videos are amazing, and it bums me out that they're gone. With the emphasis you put into keeping near lost media out of harm's way of completely falling off the map, I'd hate that any piece of media that you produced have no place on the greater internet shelf your body of work owns, and I selfishly would love to revisit some of your older videos, but I overall think the world would be worse off without any way to connect to the truly cracked piece of media you've made and are making appreciate what you do.
This is the last time I'm going to answer this question because I get it almost daily. For like 2 weeks after I put out a video, I get a new wave of them that's like a couple a day. I would really I mean, I'm not planning to archive them anywhere. I would appreciate it if my wishes are respected on that front. I haven't, like, I don't know. It's for me, the kind of like catch-22 that people are constantly trying to get me in, where my caring about lost media is concerned, respective to me being dodgy about my back catalog, is that
I mean, it's not lost, you have it.
Well, right, number one, yeah, like, I have it, number one. Number two, and this is kind of the more, like, important part to me, is that if any of these things that I'm archiving, if the people behind them were ever like, hey, I'm actually really embarrassed by this, of course I would respect their wishes immediately, because I think that's the right thing to do morally. And I think that furthermore, for me, a lot of the like documentation about that lost media is about preserving a more accurate view of the history of these mediums and these creators. And my videos that I took down, most of them had mistakes that would be perpetuating an inaccurate depiction of history, which is literally the opposite of my goal in preserving things and of spreading awareness of them. So it is and look, like, if that's not enough for you, I just, like, they're like rough around the edges in ways that like make me uncomfortable, the idea that that's going to be somebody's first. Or even that they're going to kind of find those things in general. I try to present what I think is the best of what I'm capable of, because that's something that's important to me. So I would appreciate it if my wishes on that could be respected. That's kind of the end of that. I took him down for a reason.
Everyone stop asking about the missing media of Hazel's videos and start asking about the lost media of the comic I drew as a child about a demon girl with a red streak in her hair who had like a little human boyfriend, and she like was constantly like
I've never heard about this.
Like being overtaken by her demonic side, and I would draw these on paper and then shove them into a drawer and never show them to anyone. Where's the lost media preservation efforts for that?
Yeah, oh my god.
I don't know where that shit is.
That sounds amazing.
What was her name? She had a weird name. It was like Misako or something shitty like that.
Oh, that's so cute.
Yeah. I can still see her in my mind's eye so clearly.
Yeah.
Doozy Uzi says, short and simple, do you have a favorite pillow song?
Juliet!
Woo! Sarah says, with some of the behind-the-scenes character creation discussion in this video, it's made me curious if either of you have a show that you particularly like the sete/concept art for. Huge fan of the way your work always gives a lot of respect to the creative process and inspiration behind the art you discuss.
It tends to be my favorite stuff in, like, eroge. Like, I love looking at the concept art and the CGs and the character designs much more than I actually do playing them. So if that counts, that's definitely...
There's a whole bunch of sete from different, like, Tenchi series on archive, and I have them all saved. And,
really?
Like,
I don't think
sometimes
I've looked
I
for
seriously
any of
just like
those.
look at them when I'm like feeling art blocked, because like the fucking way that they simplify but like articulate the different ways that clothes sit on characters, especially like large or baggy or bunchy clothes, is like so good, so inspirational. Like, I really need to get better at that. Alice says, are you familiar with the Fooly Cooly Reanimation project? What are your thoughts on it?
I'm aware. I don't really care. Like, I know that sounds dismissive, but honestly, reanimation projects have just never really been something I've been super interested in.
As someone who's participated in a couple of reanimation projects, I think they're a really cool way for, especially newer, undiscovered animators to kind of cut their teeth on.
Yeah.
Being a part of an organized project and having to follow certain, what do you call it? Like guidelines.
Right.
And, like video standards and whatever. While also kind of having like a cheat sheet, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're a new animator, reanimation projects are a fucking great thing to participate in. And it's just fun to also be able to share your animation with other animators and get feedback and see what they're up to. And yeah, it's a good time. Seth Peacock says, have you ever actually used an in-game sound test as a pseudo MP3 player to listen to music? I did this all the time with the Sonic Adventure soundtracks.
I did it with Kirby Nightmare in Dreamland and Amazing Mirror. I would close the lid on my Game Boy Advance SP.
Cute.
Yeah.
Masahiro Sakurai presented Smash Brothers for 3DS. Music Library is a great way to take those tunes on the go, even letting the sound play in the 3DS shoulder buttons move to the previous or next track while the 3DS was closed. I remember that. I remember the commercials of like trendy women putting the 3DS in their purse with earbuds. I was almost exclusively into video game music at the time and tried to use it, but it was incredibly unwieldy. On the other hand, I did keep the Mother 3 sound tests through my third-party English cartridge playing in between classes on occasion. There's something special about using the actual game.
Yeah, definitely.
I used my 3DS to listen to music, actually. I don't remember why, because I know I had iPods a lot. Maybe my iPods had died or something. But I loaded up my 3DS, and I think it still has, like, my...
It does. We were looking at them for a recent video. There was a
Making
lot...
Making fun of my music taste.
Yeah, there was a lot of French House on there.
Oh, yeah. Big into French House at the time. I remember putting my favorite songs from Daft Punk onto my 3DS and taking it with me to the beach and listening to it on my 3DS while walking around the beach going, this is the life. The wickedly talented Adil Dazim says, hi Hazel, in the video you mentioned that Vincent Gallo had an influence on some Japanese media. Was it on account of his movie Buffalo 66 having some cross-cultural impact with viewers at the time? Also, have you found any other pieces of indie US media having a larger cultural impact in Japan than they did in their home country?
It happens a lot more often with music, I find.
Yeah, to the point where it's kind of a trope.
Yeah.
Like, oh, they were big in Japan.
Yeah, exactly. But so I wasn't able to find a direct source on it. It was just like offhandedly mentioned in an article about Gallo doing like an art exhibit in Japan, where it mentioned that at the time Buffalo 66 was, according to this article that is not sourced, was the highest grossing American independent film in Japan when it came out, which, you know, it sounds like it could be. There are a ton of, you know, allusions that you could make as to why that was the case, from like the story premise to the way it's shot. I don't really know, but I mean, honestly, I could just as readily see it being that, like, Gallo has an extremely iconic face. You know, I think that kind of in and of itself just sort of makes sense for people to want to like draw him and like inject him into other things. So that's kind of the closest I can come with it.
This isn't a piece of media, but I'm thinking about how Rodney Greenblatt
is
extremely beloved in Japan to the point where I think he lives there full time now.
I think he used to. I think he's back up in New York now.
Okay. Yeah. Most of his art is made for like Japanese audiences and galleries and games.
Yeah, I think he did like a Shonen Knife album cover and like a Noodles album cover.
I think he's like designed some like mascots for like either like Japanese prefectures or businesses or whatever. I'm not really sure. Mare says, hey, hope you all are doing well. I just purchased the cassette for Touched or Been Touched By and listened for the first time and thoroughly enjoyed it. In the spirit of the album title, what other media, games, music, or otherwise have deeply touched you and become a core part of who you are today? Anything recent? Of course, I'd love to hear from you as well, Alyssa. Bonus side question, what was your reasoning behind the name you chose for the album?
I think it just kind of came to me. Fully, like that phrase. And I was like, oh, that sounds cool. I'll use that. It wasn't really anything super deep.
It's a good title.
But yeah, as far as things that have become a core part of me, I think that once upon a time there were things that kind of made me go, oh my god, you can do this? This is crazy. Like these are things that I've never been exposed to before, respective to once upon a time, or respective to now, where it's more like validating. Like, Dragon Guard 3 was so huge for me when I played it because it felt very validating to my tastes and the things that I care about in media, where it was like, here is all of it. Like, all in one place, all laid out on the fucking table. And you can just, like, eat it buffet style. And if you still like it by the end, then that's proof that you're pretty, like, you know, like, core. Mm-hmm. Or that you're pretty, like, set in what you're trying to get out of stuff. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of what that was for me. What about you, darling? My lovely darling wife, who I love so much.
I'm thinking I'm sleepy.
That's okay.
Sleep is a core part of who I am today. Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't know what my answer is. I feel like I talk about the same 3 things that I really loved growing up over and over and over. Anything recent?
Sonic Adventure 2 Battle.
Yeah.
Not recent, but I don't know. It's probably like the most core part of your artistic legacy.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna say DigiCared again because I can only think about 3 things at a given time. Maria Mari says, hi Alyssa and Hazel. I said my name first again. Maybe it just feels better because hi Hazel. But hi Alyssa and Hazel.
I don't care who goes first.
As a
what
Filipino,
matters is that we're together.
As a Filipino with a vegetarian girlfriend, I was wondering if y'all have tried making any vegetarian versions of Filipino dishes. My experience, a lot of Filipino food uses meat, so I'm... Okay, if you have anything good, send it my way, because I have not tried yet, because I'm like... There are a lot of dishes where I feel like substituting the meat is perfectly fine, but to me, so much of, like, Filipino dishes, like... need the meat. Like,
I think because a lot of it is based around
together
like,
through like either like the fat or like
right, like all the slow cooking that a lot of it does.
Yeah.
I think winds up like fundamentally changing the dish.
It's so hard to like make a dish feel genuine at all, like a Filipino dish feel genuine without the meat, and that like really frustrates me because I want to be making Filipino dishes, but I just like kind of haven't in the last few years because I don't know how to make them vegetarian. So if anyone has any suggestions for like
or recommendations for restaurants in the greater Seattle area,
recommend me a Filipino restaurant because I miss Filipino food. Dougal C says, hey Hazel, hey Alyssa, what's up? Another music question for Hazel. Someone that grew up playing a lot of jazz and being a big music theory nerd, I really enjoy the ways jazz and blues permeate a lot of J-pop and video game music and help create that optimistic melancholy vibe. Sorry, I'm choking on my own spit. Hold on. Okay, I'm good. I've been getting a lot more into Japanese rock and punk recently, and I'm having a harder time dissecting why I find it so emotionally impactful. Really clicked with the way you described your response to listening to The Pillows for the first time. As I don't have much background in the genre, I was wondering if you feel there are any key aspects that contribute to this nostalgic vibe you find in their music. You mentioned it's not really a feeling you get so much from listening to the bands that influence them. So do you think there's something particularly unique in the style of Japanese rock? Would love to hear your thoughts as a fellow musician.
I have no clue. I really don't know. I've tried to look at the theory and see like what they're doing differently. I just kind of come up short. I really have no idea. I've never been able to wrap my head around it.
Yeah, I feel like it's like right at the tip of my tongue. Like it feels like the answer for why it feels nostalgic should be obvious to me, but I don't have like the words to articulate it.
It's all the secondary dominance.
Maybe.
That's not it at all.
I mean,
it's just one small part of it.
I also think that the tone of their instruments kind of keys into like and I'm not a proper musician, so I'm not going to articulate this well. But
are you talking about the Pillows or
the Pillows.
Just Japanese rock in general?
Just the Pillows specifically. I think the Pillows, like the tone of their music kind of hits on that like I don't know, crucify me if this isn't accurate, but that kind of like post-Beatles rock pop sensibility of production.
Yeah, they're like, sucking off Oasis like crazy.
Yeah, that is both nostalgic but also really timeless, and I think that might be part of it, at least
definitely
for me, just as a casual listener.
Yeah, it's like they were cribbing like Oasis really hard, but like with none of the pretensions. Like I think the Pillows are really just trying to make fucking good old-fashioned rock music, you know?
Yeah.
I should specify, I don't even think the Pillows use secondary dominance very much. That's more of like a thing you hear in like the kind of rock bands that were doing anime openings throughout the 2000s.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I wish I could analyze music a little bit better. That's cool that you grew up playing jazz, though. Ollie says, something I love about your work is the different ways you're able to describe the in-between marginal and or incomplete feelings of a thing. The countryside nostalgia of a strip mall, the frame rate dip of Drakengard 3, or even in this Fooly joint, the indeterminate twilight age before you actually start coming of age. Every time I get increasingly excited to revisit old pieces of art / life or seek out new ones that I might have otherwise overlooked. The way you celebrate the unnamed and unsung parts of life and art has greatly enriched my own life in art. The ending of this video is particularly inspiring. Thank you very much. My question is, how do you program your drums and Logic to get it sounding clippy and loud and good and crunchy, but not ruining the mix? Holy shit. Is it compressors? It's compressors, isn't it? Or maybe it's limiters too. I don't fucking know. Holy fucking shit, lol.
Honestly, it's kind of just like distortion and like really heavy-handed compression. Like FabFilter Saturn is like a tape distortion plugin, but it's got a compression knob. And a lot of the time I just use that on like an entire drum bus. Because fuck it. Life's short. It makes it sound really like roomy and kind of like Dave Fridman-y. Also, sometimes I do this insane thing where I like sidechain the inside of the kick drum outside of the rest of the drum bus so that it can sidechain specifically the bass line. But honestly, I do that shit less and less every time I open up Logic. A lot of it is just like really heavy-handed compression on like compression that would make an audio engineer like be like, what the fuck are you doing? But specifically on like the drums, or sometimes even just like the entire master. More and more often lately it's the entire master. And just turning shit up too loud or just like putting distortion on it. It's like don't live like me, Brendan.
Tia says, I caught Nanase's theme from Under Night in the video, and after an ADHD domino row of thoughts, figured I'd ask a general favorite game peripheral question. If you guys have any particular ones you enjoy or find charming, Rock Band controllers, arcade sticks, plastic Wii remote, golf clubs, etc.
Alyssa, do you know about the PlayStation 2 vibrator?
What?
Yeah, they made a vibrator specifically for the game Rez.
What?
Yeah, it's true. Not my favorite. Just thought it was funny. I don't know if I have like an all-time favorite. I mean, I don't know. Maybe like the poppin' music, like those big orbular buttons with the see-through plastic. It's very cute. With the Game Boy camera count, I've been fucking with that a lot lately.
That one's cool.
The Game Boy Advance, just like the Game Boy lineage, has like a lot of really weird, cool peripherals. The Rock Band or the Guitar Hero controller specifically for the DS. It's very, very cute. It's got this like crazy thing where you put the cart into the DS slot and then you put like this weird like claw grip thing with 4 buttons on it into the GBA slot, and then you strum with the the stylus while you hit buttons
so funny.
with it.
That sounds kind of cute.
Yeah, I played it a lot because I thought it was cringe to like music as a child, so I didn't want anyone to know that I liked music. So like instead of playing Guitar Hero on the TV where I had to like stand up and look like I was really getting into it, you know, I could just play it casually while sitting down with headphones on. I don't know why I was so embarrassed to like music as a child.
I was too, but I was specifically embarrassed to like the music that my parents liked. Like even out of the songs that they listened to that I really liked, I was like embarrassed to like it because in my head I was like, that's their music that they listen to.
They're gonna think I'm copying them.
But then when I liked my own music, I was embarrassed at the thought of them asking me where I found it.
Right. Yeah, yeah.
Like,
I remember that feeling too.
Yeah. So I was also a little bit secretive. But that's why liking Japanese music was fucking great, because there's kind of this barrier of, like, you will never know what this is or what they're saying.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was kind of freeing for me, too, because I was, like, annoyingly, like, not sensitive, but, like, I was like, I'm gonna, like, there's so many things in these songs I could get in trouble for.
Yeah. I'm gonna say the Mario DDR pad because I had a friend who was trying really hard to master every song in that game on the hardest setting.
Yeah.
And she broke her Mario DDR pad playing the Bowser song on very hard.
Wow.
And laughing at the thought of her doing that has always stuck in my mind. Yeah. Mercedes says, really appreciated the segment on the manga influences on Fooly Cooly, especially love citation of / context with works by women in the 1990s and 2000s manga like Moyoko Ano, Kyoko Okazaki, The Goat, the little Tokyo love story clip, Minami Kyuta, etc. My question for both of you is, with the drastic expansion of recognition for the contributions of women in manga in the past 10 to 15 years amongst English speakers, and a Shungiku Uchida hardcover from Fantagraphics.
So fucking excited for that.
I
pre-ordered it like months and months and months ago. I actually need to make sure if it's going to get sent to the right apartment.
Are there any underpublished female mangaka you're really hoping to see get proper / better / any publication on this side?
Fumiko fucking Takano, for sure. She's only had one manga fan translated into English, and that is it in the English-speaking realm.
Every single female Yuri manga artist. Like,
yeah.
There's so much fucking...
Yamaji Ebine is another one of my favorites who's never had anything officially published in English. Thankfully, there's a lot of stuff that's been unofficially, but still not enough. Not enough.
I've even bought stuff in English that I didn't like just because I was excited that a female Yuri artist was getting translated officially. Yeah, I just want to see more female Yuri.
Yeah.
In English.
Female
Yuri. Female drawn Yuri is what I mean. Kitty Foe says, I feel like only early internet anime fans know the joy of watching anime on a school computer, subbed anime in 3 to 4 parts on YouTube before your parent came to pick you up.
I wouldn't say that's early internet, to be fair. Like, that's the generation that I am a part of. And, like, early internet anime fans is, like BBS boards and, like, IRC.
Only true 2000s kids.
Yeah, that is more realistically. Yeah.
What anime did you watch on a library computer, or what DVDs did you borrow from others who had an anime library? See, I'm just old enough of an anime fan. I didn't have anime friends to borrow from.
See, neither did I. The closest that I had was manga, I think, because, like, you know, those are books.
No, I was the one with the hookups. I would be like forcibly lending my anime DVDs to my friends to try to turn them all into Wiis.
I only had a few DVDs because they were so expensive.
Yeah. Well, I burned.
Yeah, some. I should have been doing
that. Once again, I am not answering the question and instead saying a thing that it tangentially reminded me of. And I think I've talked about this before, but because I was homeschooled, my playing on the school computer experience came from community college. And in particular, in my first semester of community college, I had a digital arts class taught by an ancient, old Chinese man who was like teaching us stuff like, this is the brush tool in Photoshop. Here's how you use it. And then like he would go on to really long-windedly explain just like basic things. And at that point I was already doing full digital art.
Yeah.
So when he was doing lectures, I would load my USB drive into the school computers and open up Yume Nikki and play Yume Nikki because I had a Mac, so I couldn't play it at home. So I was excited to have access to a Windows computer, and I would play little Yume Nikki sessions during that class, and that was the only time I could play it. So that was fun. Old Shay says, I feel bad asking this under a video that I can feel means a lot to you, but I really do need a straight answer. What makes a song penisy? Keep thinking about how you describe Style Savvy's OST as penisy, and I still don't know if I understand correctly.
It's so many different things, but the two clearest things that I can say are songs that are like allergic to their tonic chords, so it's just like they're constantly modulating all over the place. Cardiac's a really good example of that. And then also things where the instruments just sound kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I would describe it in more layman terms as like songs that are kind of discordant or songs that are kind of chaotic.
Yeah, where it's like, when I describe the Style Savvy OST as penisy, it's like they've got that like fucked up Vocaloid.
I think it's just Luca.
No, I'm just saying like there's a track that has like fucked up Vocaloid that's like all fucked up.
Yeah.
I think it might have been before Luca. I think it might be, what's her name, Lola?
Yeah, it might be Lola, actually.
So it's just like stuff that sounds just kind of fucking stanky. I don't know. You just kind of, the thing is, for the most part, it's okay to not understand the definition and just like let the definition be whatever makes sense to you.
Whenever I try to tell people what I mean by penis music, I dig up Kikuo's song Kara 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 no.
Oh, is that the one with all the like cartoon samples?
Yeah. What's the song? Kara 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 Kara. It's got Kara Kara in the title. Ryland Austin says, were either of you into Webkinz growing up? Randomly got into a conversation about it the other day with my friend after sharing the Fooly Cooly video.
It is after my time. I had cousins who liked it, but they were younger than me.
Webkinz was also long after my time, but I think daily about the person who soaked their Webkinz plush in milk and sucked the milk out of it and slapped its heavy, wet body against the walls.
So do I. Which
I know that person doesn't want because they deleted that tweet, but unfortunately it already lives in my mind rent-free.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. They were embarrassed that tweet blew up and deleted it.
Wow.
But
so then we're not respecting their wishes the same way that I'm asking my wishes to be respected. How could you, Alyssa?
I'm not you. I don't have the same ethos about art preservation that you do. To me, that belongs to the people now. That's a part of the collective conscience. Come on,
don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. People are going to take that seriously.
Listen, it gives me joy to think about, so I'm going to keep thinking about it.
You can think about it.
Look, I'm not reposting it, is the thing. I'm not like, here, this person said this, here's a screenshot of it.
Right, and here's the second copy in
it's
case
like,
you lose the first one.
If people think about your videos in their heads and they play them in their heads like that kid who could play all of Shrek in their head, there's nothing you can do to stop them.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
Nordy says, I've never watched Fooly Cooly before as it was somewhat before my time. A series you'd hear people reference every once in a while, but never really see people watch or recommend that you watch. Except in those massive here's all the classics lists. As such, your comparison about trying to follow a conversation that's been going on for 5 hours by the time you enter a room could well apply to me watching this video too, lol. The discussion was interesting nevertheless, and I do plan to give it a watch in the near future. Edit. Watched it. Was pretty good. Can imagine this hitting really hard if you had less exposure to this stuff. It is in dialogue with. As for my question, what series have been for you like Fooly Cooly is for me? Before your time, but still kind of always there in the background radiation.
I think at this point I've...
Death Note. I feel like Death Note keeps coming up.
Whoa.
I'm like...
Yeah.
I don't feel like watching it. It's probably good. I don't care. That's cool. I'm glad people like it still.
I feel like a lot of those shows that I had that with, I've since seeked out, at least to kind of like understand it a little bit more.
Full Metal Alchemist too.
Yeah.
That's another one that was like enormous and people still gush about it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever watched more than maybe like 12 episodes.
It's probably good. I don't feel like watching it.
There's that show. It's in the 90s. It's about like a pink-haired girl, and she's gotta like save a purple-haired, dark-skinned girl.
Shut up. Look, I'm about to give Madoka another chance. Maybe Utena will come up in 5 years for me. Maybe I'll change my mind. Justice Hainsworth says, about 12 and a half minutes into the video, you list a handful of things that people might have a similar fan baggage for, such as the Eva rebuilds, Twin Peaks The Return, the 2017 At the Drive-In reunion, Zulawski's Cosmos, and Vlad Love. And since that seems to be a list of things that you have an array of opinions about, I was curious to hear what your opinions on these things are. If I'm being completely honest, I'm more curious about the ATDI reunion than anything else somehow. I got to see them live in 2017 and fucking owned. That recent album was also pretty solid. I
gotta be honest, I actually don't have very strong opinions about a lot of those things. I didn't like the Ava rebuilds. I couldn't watch through Twin Peaks The Return, but I appreciate what it is. I didn't even really follow the 2017 At the Drive-In reunion outside of the fact that some friends went and saw them live and then said the album was like kind of underwhelming. And then I haven't even... I don't like Possession, so I have no interest in seeing Cosmos. And then obviously I think Vlad Love is one of the worst pieces of shit that anybody has ever made. And I think the idea that so I guess I kind of sandwiched it with things I feel really strongly about.
Vlad Love could have just been the openings, and that would have been a better piece of media than what it is.
I agree.
Say less. One Night Kiss says, hello, nice video. I wanted to ask if you've engaged with any of the Blood series. Blood the Last Vampire?
I'm sorry, I haven't.
Bloodsea. Found the series really interesting to learn about production-wise, especially the first movie and its sequel game and novel written by Mamoru Oshii. I also wanted to ask if there is a series that you've watched for its perceived aesthetic but ended up disappointing you. For me, it was Mariaholic. While the opening and some other promo material is very stylish, I feel the anime didn't give me what I liked out of it. Thanks.
What was that fucking anime from the series that everybody was gassing up for like one episode and then they were all like, oh wait, this is like a nothing burger?
Was
Magical Girl Killers, Magical Destroyers, something like that. I can't fucking remember. Sounds like a lot of people are having that with it, where like the opening is like astonishing to people,
Isn't
and then the actual show is like fucking nothing. Isn't that opening directed by the same
person who directed the opening for Vlad Love?
That would make so much fucking sense.
I saw Cola tweeting about it, because she was saying, like, this opening is so good, but I feel like I'm not getting into the same way.
That was the thing where I was like, okay, I don't need to give this my time. Because I heard that from a few different people as well. Mariaholic's got really stylized openings and endings.
I love the openings and endings. I've never watched it.
They're so goddamn, like, they're
I recently tried to watch...
I can't imagine actually watching that show.
I recently tried to watch Gothic on a complete whim.
Oh, right.
Complete whim. I think I only got 2 episodes in before I got bored and stopped watching. I feel like I'm still, like, chasing the idea of, like, an early aughts anime that has that kind of, like, Victorian Gothic Lolita look to it and actually, like, follows up on that aesthetic. Because, I mean, I know I've said this before, I love Frozen Maiden because I grew up with it, but, like, that show is not fucking what you would expect looking at how it looks.
Same with I
wanted a series that felt the way the second, like, the Rosamund Tromend's opening looked. That opening is so fucking cool, and there's nothing cool about that series. So if you have recommendations for a nostalgic anime that actually follows up well on the pretentious Gothic Lolita look, hit me up. Funnily, I think even, like, Black Butler comes a little closer to tapping into that, but still not entirely. I think I've mentioned it. There's, like, kind of this obscure manga I was reading for a sec called Victoria's Electric Coffin.
I remember you bringing that up.
It's about a girl genius who, like, brings to life a Frankenstein who's like a convicted criminal who was sentenced to death. Just thinking in terms of like the Victorian vibe. Completely unrelated. The art's gorgeous. Nolan Gang says, "Hi Hazel and Alyssa. What kind of fashion do you fuck with / admire from afar?"
I don't really have very strong fashion opinions. It seems like such a broad world that I just don't know anything about and don't really know how to approach. So I just kind of look at it from afar and go, woo!
I wish I could be reborn and try life again and be a gyaru this time.
Yeah.
I would love to be an one gyaru.
Yeah. I kind of think you already are.
Like, light.
Yeah.
Very, very light.
Yeah, very light, but that's fine.
Ash says, "Hello Hazel, loved the video. I think I could tell that the idea of making a Fooly Cooly video seemed fraught to you, and I imagine the density of Fooly Cooly commentary was a big reason for that. Like, OMG, yet another Fooly Cooly video. Were there any things you maybe wanted to discuss about the show, but that it felt like highly covered ground? Or tropes from other videos that you're like, nope, I can't say that, we've all heard it. How much did the meta of Fooly Cooly discourse affect your thoughts?"
All. It was so hard to make this video. I didn't watch a single video about Fooly Cooly in the run-up to making mine because I knew that I would get, like, paralysis if I felt like everything that I was saying had already been said. But the big thing for me was that I kept finding my theses stated verbatim in things that Tsurumaki had said about the series. He even said, like, oh yeah, just think of the rock guitar of the show's soundtrack as being instrumental to how you should view the series. I saw that after Bleach was like, oh yeah, or the friend of mine that comes up later in the video had said to me, the thing about it functioning like music. And I had this kind of crisis for a while with the series where I was like, if Tsurumaki is already commenting on the kind of like low art, high art facets of the series, or talking about how you should just feel it instead of trying to think about it logically, like, why the fuck would I possibly think that it is worthwhile to build a thesis out of that when it is clearly so self-evident that the creator himself is using it as the key framework to the work itself. Mm-hmm. So that was a really difficult back and forth, where the more I learned about the series, the more I felt like my reads were being justified or like validated, but the more I felt like they didn't make sense to hinge the video on. So it was really difficult.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that I managed to pull it off okay.
You did a great job. Rat Boy says, "Hello Hazel and Alyssa, hope you're doing well. The bit at the end of the video about not fretting about what you get out of art was something I found really powerful and inspiring. I was wondering if there are any times in your life outside of your videos that you felt this sort of all or nothing creative energy with. Sorry if this doesn't make sense. Also, any opinions on Deep Space Nine? It rocks. Thanks again. Great.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. I have a feeling I would really like it. I will watch it eventually.
Yeah.
I'll just need like the itch to strike and then I'll watch it.
I mean, honestly, so much music for me is that kind of all or nothing thing. Like, I think every time you start a creative project, you kind of have to go in knowing that it's either going to come together or it's not. And that it's okay if it doesn't, you know? Something else might come out in its place.
I feel like all of my art has just been built on the corpses of all the art I didn't finish.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, definitely.
They're all just snakes shedding their skin and then eating the previous snake's shed skin for energy. Pinecone says, "So cool that you did a Fooly Cooly video. I love that show and just finished rewatching it before you covered it. Sure, you've already been asked this before, but what's your favorite anime openings? Also, super quick one, but have you ever seen the Magical Destroyers opening?" Yes, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. It's a shame about the rest of the show, apparently.
Fuck, I feel like I just need to make a playlist of anime openings I really like, because I can't think of them. Like, I like anime openings for stuff I've never seen, because I will just watch anime openings, like, for sport.
The Venus and Jesus opening for Arakawa Under the Bridge is a certified classic.
That song is so good.
I don't even like this song that much because I kind of don't.
Song.
No. I'm shifting to a different topic.
Gotcha.
I don't even like the song that much because I've not really been able to get into anything that Ryo did after the initial Supercell album. But the Kakegurui opening is really awesome. The
Kakegurui opening is so good.
It's one of those ones that gets better the more you watch it and the more you understand about the show.
Yeah.
Akiba Maid War is like genuinely one of my favorites.
That opening is so fucking funny. For an early one, and also for a series I haven't watched, I fucking love the Sakura Wars opening.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that song still gets me hype. Like, it kind of has, what do you call it? Like, tokusatsu show sensibilities to its composition. Like, that kind of dramatic.
Yeah, it definitely plays into the kind of, like, stage troupe vibe that it's going for,
The Platinum opening for Cardcaptor Sakura
I think that might be the best one ever made, objectively.
Beautiful songs and openings ever.
Yeah.
I fucking love speaking of Clamp, Angelic Layer opening, the song is fantastic.
Yeah. Ray Earth.
Ray Earth's got an iconic opening. Chobits, obviously.
Chobits, yeah.
Which
Chobits
is so
fucking
funny
amazing.
to me that song fucking rules because that opening is nothing. Like, there's no fucking animation in that opening.
But in my mind, it's like so much more than it is because that is the perfect song.
Yeah. I also think the ending, Rise into Chara, is great.
I like the Die Buster ED a lot.
Yeah.
I haven't even seen Die Buster yet. I just like that ED.
I love so many openings. I love the Dote Up a Cat opening.
Oh, yeah. That's a well, I mean, the whole, like, opening it up to eroge openings is, like, a whole new thing.
Yeah.
Alyssa and I will sometimes just, like, sit down on the couch and put up a playlist of, like, 1,000 like eroge opening and just, like, put them on shuffle and be like, all right, what is this? What do we think this is about? Like, what's going on here?
It's great. I love it. I feel like I always mix up all the key joints.
Air. Yeah, that's like one of my favorites. Yeah, that's Air.
Is that one Air? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that one is one of those ones where, like, especially now
fantastic.
after having seen both the series and the movie adaptation, I'm like,
yeah. I still think Air is probably my favorite out of. Like,
it's mine as well.
Novels.
Like, by all accounts, it should be Clannad for me because that is the one that I've played.
I actually think that Clannad was the one I felt the least strongly about.
You were probably confusing it with. Well, actually, when
Kanon.
that actually makes sense because Kanon is so much more melodramatic that I could see that kind of striking you.
Well,
I like how, like, low stakes and hangoutable the first half of Clannad is. That's why I haven't seen After Story.
Yeah,
because I don't want to see it go south. I'm enjoying my
Is it
my friends.
Clannad or is it Kanon that has the, like, sudden veer near the end of the series into, like, the past?
No, that's Air. That's
that
Air.
Is Air?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I think that's part of Air.
That part of Air sucks
part of Air.
so goddamn much. The fact that Air might genuinely be like a top 10 show for me goes to show how much it worked for me in spite of itself outside of that. And I need to stress, like, Air in and of itself is, like, not an amazing story. Like, it feels silly to put that, like, as high as, like, fucking, like, you know, shows that I love a lot more intellectually, so to speak. But there's something about the simplicity, the emotional simplicity of Air that speaks really profoundly to me. Kind of in the same way that Elfenlied does. But I think that Air is a lot more good.
Air is just very sweet. I think that sort of the importance of the story, at least for the old anime adaptation, hinging on the aunt and the main girl. Like, the main dude, like, kind of doesn't matter.
He, like, fades further and further from the story as it goes on.
Like, disappears.
Yeah.
I think is its strength and what fascinates me about it.
I think it really goes to show how much that game was built for the adaptation that it got, based solely on the fact that even among otaku, the most, like, cum-stained of demographics, even they were like, these sex scenes are woefully out of place. They should not be here.
You know you've written a good story one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hit you back to back with a couple of Horie Yui openings.
Ooh, true.
The Sister Princess opening
is
fucking great. That's another series where I'm like, fuck, I wish the show was half as cool and dramatic as this opening, but it's just kind of stupid.
Yeah.
And the Ground Defense Force Malachan opening, which has some disgusting, like, mech CG in the opening, too, if you want to see that. I feel like we could do a whole like 2-hour-long session of us just talking about
Maybe we should do a
openings.
con panel at some point.
Just talking about anime openings?
Exactly like we are now with no prior script.
Just I think it would be the easiest thing.
Yeah.
Just play it and then, like, pause and point stuff out. And, I mean, that's kind of what I want to do whenever I fucking do this animation stream, which I'm going to do, I promise. Okay, next question. The Blue Quartz Dragon says, hi, Hazel, Alyssa, and Wander. Where is Wander?
He hasn't moved.
Where?
He's literally...
He's so cozy.
He moved, like, in the last couple minutes, but
Sort
he was
of.
under the blanket, like, with his little head poking
cozy.
out, looking like he was in the deepest fucking sleep of his life. We got him shaved for the summer, but now it's getting a little bit colder again for a brief second, so he's been cold lately, so he's been extra helpless.
He's so helpless and cuddly. I've been following y'all's stuff for about a year and a half now, and have been wondering, y'all, you've mentioned and shown some Nichijou clips from time to time. What are your thoughts on it? It's great.
I love it.
We love it. I kind of don't have anything else to say about it. I just love Nichijou.
There's nothing as profoundly emotional in it to me as there is in Azumanga Daioh, and there's nothing as, like, easygoing and, like, hangoutable as in Lucky Star. So I feel like it kind of falls in the wayside in my brain because I just, like, don't quite value gags as much as I do
to me,
the other
Nichijou
stuff. But Nichijou is, like, the funniest.
Yeah. And
or
just,
at least, like, the most bombastic in its sense of humor. And that goes a long way.
Yeah, definitely. Also, I started playing Pangya, and my god, it's a life changer. Still don't know how to do custom designs, but that's fine for now. Also, I'm only asking this because it's so soon. Thoughts on Tears of the Kingdom? I've already sunk, like, I don't even know how many hours into it. I'm really liking it. As I'm pretty deep into it now, I've kind of had an arc where at the beginning of the game, I was kind of anxious. Like, I kind of was like, oh, this is just like Breath of the Wild DLC, basically. I wasn't liking the tutorial area. I wasn't liking how getting around felt. I wasn't liking how linear it felt like the game wanted me to be, while still wearing the vestiges of an open world. And I still kind of feel that way now, of like, this game really does want you to do things linearly, at least to some degree. But that's fine. It doesn't bother me. Mechanically, I think that it is by and large an enormous improvement over Breath of the Wild. It's fun. It's so much fucking fun. The mechanics are to play with. The flexibility with what you can do, with how that opens up solving puzzles, is really fun. I will say, the shrines are way the fuck easier. Like, I've had a couple that I got stuck on, but those were usually the ones where it, like, took all my items away. But yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how it's gonna stick the landing for me. I'm enjoying it quite a lot, though. Let's see, what was the other part of this? Pangya, right. I'm glad you're playing it. I'm glad you like it.
I'm gonna try to return to Pangya streams this Sunday.
I don't know if you heard
Sorry,
it.
I'm putting a sweet potato in the oven for lunch.
Hazel's gonna return to Pangya this Sunday, so look forward to it. Alice Amity says, hi Hazel, I enjoyed the new video so much. Fooly Cooly has actually recently developed has actually been a recently developed fixation of mine, so in a sense the video came at a perfect time for me. For a question, I noticed you mentioned Harmony Korine briefly in the video. I'd like to know what your favorite film is by him. I look forward to your future content. You're a wonderful creator.
I know this is gonna sound like really backhanded, but I don't know that I could say that any of them are a favorite among the others, if that makes sense.
Just that they all kind of like hang equally in your mind?
I mean, just that I wouldn't say that any of them are like strictly enjoyable to me.
You love getting asked about stuff and then being like, I hate it actually. I've never seen it.
No, I'm not even saying that at all.
Well,
I'm just being honest. I'm not even saying that. It's like, look, people who've seen his movies will know what I'm talking about.
Glass Shark says, hello, great video as usual. One thing in particular that you mentioned in this video which really struck a chord with me was how attempting to vocalize one's taste in media can unintentionally lead to a sort of self-pigeonholing. Reminds me of my early teens when someone asked me what my favorite movie was. I answered Blade Runner on a whim, but for some reason I allowed that answer to have a strange amount of sway over me for a number of years. Made a point of watching Blade Runner at least once a year, a ritual I didn't keep for other movies I enjoyed considerably more, because I said Blade Runner was my favorite movie. Looking back, I think Blade Runner is just fine, but having vocally committed to it being my favorite, I tried to brute force it into being more significant to me than it was. Have you ever had a similar pigeonholing experience with a particular piece of media? I feel like I felt that way
definitely
about saying things were my favorite in general.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, oh, if I say this is my favorite, I have to, like, know everything about it.
Yeah.
And engaged with it a million times.
Yeah, I think that sometimes it can be really fun to definitively say that something is your favorite, but I think other times you can get to a point, especially when you're young, you can get to a point where it's like, do I even like this thing? Actually? Or has it just felt right to say that it's my favorite?
Yeah.
I think I have that with, like, bands for a long time. Like, I think I considered The Pillows my favorite band for a lot longer than that was actually true for. If that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm having trouble thinking. That's definitely something I did more when I was younger and hadn't experienced as many things. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I've got to choose a favorite, but I don't have that many things to choose from. Philip Roger says, hello, question for Alyssa. I recently read through the Christoph route of Doinkai. Oh god, thanks. It's got me excited for Love in a Bottle. What's been your experience going from an outsider perspective, that is to say June being someone from the normal world introduced to a magical one, to that of an insider, a magical creature still living in the magical world? Thank you. Well, golly, thanks for reading it. I'm embarrassed. Yeah, it actually has been interesting, and also June and Cora just both have extremely different dispositions, which has altered the experience of writing in a way that I knew that it would, but, like, even more than I thought. I made the executive decision somewhat early on that even though we are experiencing Love in a Bottle through Ancora's perspective, the narration is third person. Because Ancora is somewhat of an unreliable narrator, not in terms of her being, like, deceptive in any kind of way, but in terms of her
being stupid?
Not always fully grasping the situation, and therefore not being good to describe it to a player in any kind of objective manner. And at first I thought that would be fun to play with, and I think if I was trying to do a more complex game, I would have gone with that just for the fun of it. But Love in a Bottle is going to be a pretty short and sweet experience, and I don't want to confuse people about what is or isn't true. So instead I've kind of created this dynamic, like almost sort of this relationship between Ancora and the third person omniscient narration of, like, not necessarily the narration snarking at her, but kind of calling her out where necessary. So it'll be like, I'm trying to think of an example. There's a moment where Ancora is interacting with her distant cousin, who's kind of a side character, and she doesn't know her very well, but, like, wants to act like she does. And she assumes that her cousin is asking for romance advice. So she says something to her like, oh yeah, you know, always keep it in mind that girls don't like it when you do this. And then her cousin says, thanks, I'll keep that in mind. And then the narration says her cousin did not keep that in mind. Or, like, her cousin immediately put this advice out of her mind as inadvisable or whatever. And I think having that sort of internal banter has been fun. June kind of banters with themselves and with their own environment, so I could kind of leave June to their own devices, but it's been enjoyable kind of shifting how I do that and how how I interact with the protagonist as a character. I've always been very pro visual novel protagonists as their own individual, and I have enjoyed games where that's not the case, and I see the value of blank slate protagonists. But Ancora as a character is just as much of an important character to me as all the rest of the cast. So almost kind of having an opportunity for you, the player, to interact with her outside of herself is entertaining for me. Yeah. Thanks again for reading Christoph wrote. I wish I'd written the rest, but...
On to the next one.
On to the next thing. Malavita says, "Hi Hazel and Alyssa, I'm going to do that thing where I ask a question about an older video. I imagine I'll finally think of a good Fooly Cooly video question 3 videos from now and post it then. That's
totally fine. Completely fine.
I was thinking about my relationship with Lucky Star and what impact it had on me when I watched it. I was also a fan of the show. It was a big deal for me when I saw it. I had Konata desktop wallpapers and everything.
Me too.
However, despite loving the show, it sort of 9/11'd my interest in anime and manga at the time. Just something about how it's such a subversive deconstruction of the slice of life stuff I, up until that point, loved so much. It became the anime to end all anime for me. It wasn't until quarantine that I started getting back into anime and manga like I had before. Has any media done something similar to you? Not necessarily anime, but has the game, show, or movie just torpedoed your interest in a genre or medium you like, despite the work being something you enjoyed?
I will say that I think I had kind of the inverse with Lucky Star. Sorry if there's suddenly a bunch of background noise. Alyssa's cooking dinner tonight, and I realized that I should probably run the dishwasher, even though it's not completely full. So that she can have everything clean, so that she can make a delicious dinner that I'm so excited to eat.
I know, I want to cook right now because I'm hungry.
I'm hungry too. I think that Yakiimo will be a decent stopgap snack, and then we can have dinnerino a little later.
Dinnerino.
So yeah, like Lucky Star for me was like, I think I really truly saw how broad the world of anime and manga was for the first time. Just by virtue of how much stuff went completely over my head. I keep saying things that I'm like, I said this in that video, and then I remember that I said them in the first video that I made about Lucky Star that I never published because it was bad.
Yeah, I still, Lucky Star really made me feel like I missed out on Shuffle.
Right. Yeah, like that's a good example in and of itself. But I feel like there definitely have been some media where it's like I hit it and it felt good, and then I was just like, I can never do this again.
I feel that way anytime I play a video game that I sink a lot of time into, just because video games are such an all-encompassing thing to engage with, where it's like, man, I don't know if I have it in me to love another video game this way.
In high school, I had that with roguelikes, where I was like, I had to come to a breaking point where I was like, if I keep playing these, I'm never gonna get anything done.
Yeah, I feel that way a little bit about Minecraft.
Yeah. But Minecraft is social, at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, lots of people play Minecraft by themselves, but I only ever played it with friends.
Yeah, that's true.
So in that regard, I could justify, because I'm like, this is a social experience, and that's good for me. Yeah. Omen Machine says, "Hi Hazel and Alyssa, what media have you two been enjoying recently?" What have I been enjoying recently? Let me think. Give me a sec.
Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah, I mean, I've been playing Tears of the Kingdom. That's kind of...
I didn't specify. I actually haven't played it. I've just been watching Alyssa play it off and on.
Yeah.
Just to answer that earlier question. What media have we been enjoying lately? I've kind of just been in like the fucking Pokemon brain rot hole. I've just kind of been deep in the sauce lately. Just thinking about those funny little guys.
I read something recently. I'm blanking on what the fuck it's called. Give me a sec. I don't remember what it was called. It was called Still Sick. My good friend Madeline recommended it to me. It's a one-shot Yuri manga. it is about two office ladies, one of whom is
One shot.
Well, I'm sorry. It was a lot shorter to me in my mind. It's 3 volumes long. The kind of main girl is like a Yuri Fujoshi, so she goes home from her office job and makes Yuri Dojinshi. And the other one is a semi-spoilers ? You find this out pretty fast. A burned out manga artist who ran away from her debut publication. And at first I was kind of like, this is a very simple series with very simple ideas and very simple conflicts. But by the time I got to the end, I was very impressed by kind of feeling like it was good at being meta-contextual without being pretentious, like being a Yuri about making Yuri.
Yeah.
And it was also good at hitting on certain Yuri relationship tropes while also subverting them, again, in a way that didn't feel pretentious. And also, the main girl being like 30-something was cool because she actually did feel very relatable to me. Like, they kind of frame her as like sort of a man-child type where she's like, OMG, my OTP feels, that type of fangirl. But she's also like this really responsible like engineer lead or something at her job, and like all the boys at her job like look up to her and like see her as one of the dudes, and she's like one of those career women who's just kind of coasting so she can support her hobby. Yeah. But as she enters a relationship, she's like, I guess I should probably start thinking about my future. That's weird. I don't know. I wouldn't describe it as, like, heartfelt or sweet or cute in any way. I wouldn't describe it as revolutionary, but there's just something about it that scratched my brain, and I was like, that was really good. Yeah. So that was called Still Sick, if you want to look it up. That's what I've read recently.
I wish I had anything more interesting. I've just been playing through Pokemon Soul Silver, and I've been taking my little fucking Pokewalker with me everywhere.
I've been enjoying you showing me your Mareep whenever we take a walk, and you say, my Mareep found a berry, and I'm like, that's wonderful, honey. It's great. I love it.
It's true. Great. We went to the Arboretum the other day.
It was beautiful. We went on a fucking wonderful
I would say
day.
Less than media lately. I've just kind of been enjoying my surroundings. I know that sounds weird.
I've been enjoying nature. Check it out.
Yeah, check it out.
Song of the summer.
You guys hear about this little thing called the world we live in? It's a good time.
I feel like there's something else I've either been reading or keeping up with. I don't remember what. Been keeping up with Hana-kun. It's getting good. Finally went back to school, and I can't believe I'd ever say I'm fucking relieved to be back in school in a series.
It was because they were separated for like a whole arc, right?
Fucking forever, and like dealing with like fucking bullshit for side characters that I like didn't really care about.
Yeah, this is the ultimate problem of finding a series where you're really only invested in the main duo. Like, imagine if School Zone, like, if I only cared about Kay and Ray?
Kay and Ray,
Kay and, yeah.
Yeah, that would be a bad time.
Yeah.
Sunrise says, hi, hope you're both having a great day. What do you think are the character designs that shaped your taste in character designs? Again, Koge Danbo.
Yeah.
Koge Danbo rearranged my brain. I absorbed a lot of sensibilities from stuff that I didn't ever play or watch, but just kind of looked at the art for.
We grew up in the golden age of goth girls.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's kind of self-evident.
Yeah.
You know? Like...
Yeah. Like, I saw official art for fucking Final Fantasy Tactics. And I remember that reshaping my brain quite a lot.
Yeah, I love those designs.
Obviously, I loved all the character designs in Tenchi.
Yeah.
Every woman I designed was like a Ryoko ripoff, kind of. Other character designs I liked. I don't know. What else? Everything.
Take a little bit from everything.
I'll come up with a better answer for this later. Really quick question. I caught an Alien 9 clip in the video on the section about trying to define your taste, and I'd love to hear a bit of what you think about it / the hot mess that is the manga if you've read it.
I've not read the manga. But the anime is one of those things where I kind of got the feeling that it was only as good as it was because it was as short as it was.
Yeah.
Like, with stuff like that, you kind of have to look at it and go, this is gonna get weird eventually if it goes on long enough. Like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, this is based on a manga that has like a lot more piss in it, probably. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not even saying that to be like dismissive of the manga or anything, but it's like, this seems like the kind of thing that source material is a lot more transgressive, we'll say. I'm not even sure if that's true or not, but describing the manga as being a hot mess kind of leads me to believe that may be the case.
So I've joked before that the reason I didn't like Madoka is because I wished that it was either a 50 episode long series or an OVA.
Right.
It being kind of short, but not super short, made the intensity and the speed at which it hit its emotional beats feel kind of meaningless and rushed to me. I think Alien 9 being as short as it is means that it does exactly what I joked Madoka OVA would do for me, where it's just short enough to kind of be an interesting brainworm, and not get too caught up in the semantics of explaining any of its like interesting emotional beats. Alien 9 is something I really love that I think on an objective level I can say is a little bit uncomfortable, and if you watch it and you're like, this is really creepy, I don't get why Alyssa likes that, that's totally a fair reaction. But what it does hit on really well for me that made me kind of latch onto it is that I relate very much to the main character's entire conflict being that she feels like she's in a world of other pubescent girls who are doing all the difficult adult things that they're expected to do seemingly without any trouble, and she's afraid of that. Like, the scariest thing to her is not like literally the aliens or literally fighting or literally doing XYZ. It's just like this kind of feeling of like not being ready and not being mature enough to do any of the things that her society expects her to do as a growing woman. And I think that that's like the most that an allegory for female pubescence has ever resonated with me, and like kind of captured how literally terrifying it is, and like kind of how gross and weird and dehumanizing and like sometimes like sexualizing being a pubescent teen girl
sometimes
is. Well, yeah, and the discomfort that comes with that. And obviously I know that will make people uncomfortable, and I think that is right too, because it is uncomfortable. But yeah, I don't know. Her constantly being afraid and not wanting to do the things that people demand her do is deeply relatable to me as a neurodivergent raised female person.
I think it kind of is on that rare pedestal with stuff like Rule of Rose and Love and Pop, where it's something made by men that still somehow successfully captures that time in life and how horribly upsetting and uncompromising it is. Yeah. It's true.
Being a pubescent girl do feel like being in a horror game without a weapon.
Yeah, it's true.
Elijah Siddiqui says, "Hey Alyssa and Hazel and Wander. Did I already read this?
No,
I didn't. And I read my name first again instinctively."
That's so funny. I haven't noticed any of the times you've done it.
I've done it like 4 times. I really enjoyed the video. Fooly Cooly was one of my first ever anime, and it remains my favorite even now. Anyways, on to my question. I was listening to some Spotify and noticed that Twinkle Park did a remix of a Glass Beach song a while back, and I was just wondering how that happened. Thanks again for all the great videos, and if possible, could you give Wander some more camera time?
People have asked me this question before, and I haven't answered because the answer is really boring. I'm so sorry that this is like not an interesting story. They DM'd me at a time when I needed money. And I said, yeah, sure, I'll do that. And then I asked a friend of mine, which of these songs do you think I should do? You know this band. And they were like, you should do this one. And so I responded and said, yeah, I'll take this one if nobody else is doing it. And they were like, nobody else has even hinted that they want to do that one. So it's perfect. And I was like, okay. And then I did it. And that's my story.
I agree. You should give Wonder more camera time.
I agree too. I really enjoyed putting him in, oh god, I can't even remember which video it was. There was a time where I just needed a stretch of footage. I think it was in the Pokemon video. Yeah. Just needed a stretch of footage. It was like past midnight. You were already asleep. I was like, I don't know what the fuck to put here. And then I looked over at Wander, and I was like, I'm just gonna film myself like fucking with him. Yeah. Just like play with him for a little bit and film that and then put that in the video.
So cute. Meow Meow Island says, hi, hope y'all are doing well. I know you get questions like this a lot, but I wanted to know if you have any tips for starting to make videos. I wanted to try my hand at making YouTube videos for a while now. Every time I think about actually doing it, I feel intimidated. Any advice you might be able to give about this would be greatly appreciated. Thanks in advance.
If you're feeling intimidated about doing it, I find that feeling usually stems from not really knowing where to start with it, or if you are going to start in the wrong place, if that's going to cause later complications down the line. So I would say find something that you feel like compelled, like capital C compelled to talk about. Start taking some notes on what you might want to say about it, and then try to structure those into an order that makes some amount of sense. And then after that, you can just kind of try to turn it into a script. And then you narrate that script, and then you just start either editing it or you know, whatever else you do with that step. You just kind of linearly put clips and stuff over what you're talking about, and then eventually you will have a completed video essay. So that is what I would say is a good course of action.
I say make your first video kind of short, make it something you know really well.
Yeah, make it something that isn't too
I feel like the research process can be really overwhelming.
Yeah, so especially like there's kind of almost like a bell curve where like the deeper you get into research for something, the more intimidating it is.
Yeah.
So I would definitely say either do something where the research is sort of implicit, or something that you just already know very deeply for sure.
Yeah. Or just something fun.
Yeah. Sometimes it is also good to make a video essay as an excuse to learn more about something you want to learn about.
Yeah.
You know? Like, okay, I want to become an expert on this. I need to become enough of an expert that I can teach other people about it, kind of thing.
Yeah, I got one of those for way further down the line in the future.
Yeah, yeah.
Nicole Turkowski says, if you have time, would you ever consider making a video of music recommendations? I feel like our music tastes are adjacent, but you probably know a ton of cool stuff that I don't and would love. We should make a Spotify playlist.
No, that would require having a public Spotify.
Yeah. You can't make a public playlist with a private Spotify?
Well, I think the username would still be present. So I would say that you should check out the podcasts that I used to do. Because those were all about music. I probably would not do a video about music because those videos just like perform really badly. Yeah, I find people are just not super interested in music that way. It's much more niche. I would also say that like because that podcast isn't around anymore, the main way that I have found to continue to share music I like has just been putting weird songs at the pre-stream like startup stream at the start of my streams.
When you stream?
When I stream.
Before you stream?
Yeah, before I start streaming. You know, I just kind of like look at my Spotify likes or wherever, or just like whatever song I have stuck in my head, and I'm like, yeah, I'll use that as the little pre-stream song. So that's kind of been my way of continuing to put forward the music that I'm into and feeling excited by.
Sounds good.
Thanks.
Sorry, I'm getting sleepy.
Yeah, we're almost done.
Mario Bland says, I just joined your Patreon and was wondering where I could listen to your music. Love your video work. It's like an hour-long warm vibes videos and extreme anime research that I didn't know could even exist.
I realized that after the tape sold out, I think I just deleted the comment where I had links to them so that it wouldn't be confusing. And then I don't think I actually put the link to my music anywhere. Twinklepark.bandcamp.com, Twinklepark on Spotify. It's around.
Mugu says, Hi Hazel and Alyssa, have either of you read the manga Dandadan?
I read a little bit of it and I really liked it, but I just have had a really hard time reading manga lately.
I've seen screen caps of it and the art looks cool.
It's cute.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, y'all, for all the questions.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm gonna get this up right away, so when you listen to this, you'll look at the upload date and be like, wow.
Hungry!
This happened the same time as it was uploaded. Immediate context. I'm listening to this, and I know, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that they were making a baked sweet potato that they're probably eating as I listen to this. Or like, wow, I wonder if their dishes are done yet. That's the magic of putting stuff out as soon as it's recorded, you know? It's just there. Live. Okay, goodbye. 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 Okay, goodbye.